Let me tell you something that took me about 50 years to learn. Failure isn't the end, it's often just the beginning. Every major turning point in my life came right after something went completely wrong. I've lost jobs, I've missed out on promotions, made mistakes that cost me tens of thousands of pounds, and countless sleepless nights. But every single one of those moments shaped me into who I am today. If you've just failed at something, you might be closer to success than you think. So before you give up, please watch this video because I'm going to show you why failure might actually be the best thing that's ever happened to you and how to turn it into your next big breakthrough. Hi, I'm Anton and welcome to my channel. Let's talk about life with Anton. So let's talk about something that we all face but rarely understand properly, and that's failure. We've all been there, missed opportunities, losing a job, relationships that didn't work out, or dreams that just fell apart. But when it happens, it feels like the end of the world, or at least the end of the road. But here's the truth. Failure isn't always the worst thing. In fact, it might be the most important thing that has ever happened to you. Failure forces growth. See, when everything's going well, we don't question much. We keep doing the same things, following the same habits. It's only when we fail, when something breaks, that we stop, we reflect and grow. I've failed plenty of times in my 50+ years in life. I've failed more times at school than I want to remember and tell you anyway. I've had countless relationships that didn't work out. In business, I've lost deals, huge clients I've lost, had to deal with recessions, COVID, missed targets, made bad job decisions, and was even made redundant twice. And every single time, even when it felt like I'd lost everything, I realized that those moments forced me to rebuild stronger and smarter. Failure strips away the ego and shows us what we're really made of. You can't grow in comfort. Growth only happens in discomfort. And that's what I'm trying to teach my children today. I'll never forget that time when one of my daughters failed her driving test 3 times in a really short period. It was as if the whole world had collapsed around her. Nothing that we could say or do would make a difference. And then eventually she finally passed. And I would go as far as to say that she's actually probably the best driver in the whole family now. Failure builds resilience. Most successful people in business, sports or life have failed more times than most people would even ever try. I mean, think about people like Steve Jobs, who got fired from his own company. Or one of my favourite ones, J.K. Rowling. She was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter changed her life. And even the great Michael Jordan said, "I failed over and over again, and that is why I succeed." The difference is they don't let failure define them. They let it refine them. And that's the lesson. Resilience isn't built by winning, it's built by failing and getting back up again. When you hit a certain age and you look back on life, it's funny how much you stressed about failures. I mean, one of my daughters failed to get into a really top grammar school that her sister was already at. It caused months of family arguments and blaming about who was responsible. And now they both do the exact same thing, but they just took different paths to get there. Again, another example was when one of them failed in some really important exams, and she made a decision on her own to go back to the year below and redo those exams. She spent 12 months seeing all her friends graduate and seemingly have fun, while she spent time alone with no friends and just studied. And she's become such a strong person since then, and I'm just so proud of her for that. And I know some of you will be watching this video going, "Oh yeah, typical Western world problems." These are problems and challenges, and yes, I agree with you that compared to the people that are struggling to put a roof over their head or find food or to deal with daily conflicts, these are real world problems. But for the purpose of this video, I'm trying to merely highlight that whatever the situation, there is hope, and in my experience, most of the time, these setbacks only made me stronger, more resilient, and determined as a person. Failure teaches clarity. Failure also gives you clarity. It teaches you what's not working, what's not for you. Sometimes when we fail, we're not actually being pushed, even though it feels like it at the time. We're being redirected. When I got made redundant, it felt devastating, but it gave me space to rethink my path, to go independent, to find new opportunities, to build something that matched my values. If that redundancy hadn't have happened, I might still be chasing someone else's version of success. How to handle failure and when it happens. You know, when failure hits, it's natural to feel lost or angry. But here's 3 things that I've learned. 1, don't react too quickly. Take time to feel it, then step back and analyze what actually went wrong. Number 2, find the lesson. Every failure has one. Maybe it's timing, effort, people, or direction. And number 3, reset and refocus. Use it as fuel. Adjust your approach, your mindset, or your goals, but don't stop moving. Failures are like building muscle for your future character. You have to push against them sometimes to gain more mass, more experience about life, more resilience to change, and sometimes you just have to redirect it to weaker places to build up your character. And as Tony Robbins says, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Failure is often life's way of giving you a wake-up call. The mindset shift. The problem isn't failing, it's how we see failure. Most people think failing means you're just not good enough, but really it means you were brave enough to try something that others wouldn't. Every attempt that doesn't work brings you one step closer to what will. So instead of asking, what happens if I fail? Ask, what if I never try? Because failure fades, regret doesn't. There'll be nothing worse than when you get to a certain age and you're sitting back in your armchair and you're thinking about all the regrets that you had in life. I wish I danced. I wish I played a sport or learned how to play an instrument. Oh, I really wish I went up that night and sang karaoke on the stage, but I was too scared and I just didn't think I was going to be any good. So what? At least you tried. I stopped so many different things because I just didn't want to fail. Don't just watch from the sidelines and complain. Be in the game. So if you're going through a setback right now, just remember this. You're not being broken. You're being built. You're learning things success can never teach you. Failures aren't the end, they're the doorway to something better. You just have to walk through it. So if you found this video helpful, hit a like button, subscribe, and share with somebody who you might need a reminder that failure isn't final, it's just feedback. So again, thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care. See ya.